Results were released this week from the audit of Colorado's Civil Rights Division, stemming from the fallout of the Masterpiece Cake Shop case. The state auditor found the division was unacceptably slow and non-transparent. Almost 40% of the division's investigations missed statutory deadlines, and none of them had the appropriate documentation. Eric, as division audits go, this one was pretty scathing. It didn't look good for it. Do you see some action from the legislature, from Governor Polis, from all of the above? What happens from here?
Well, you would hope so. I mean, obviously with Democrats controlling the legislature, with Jared Polis being a Democrat, they're pressured by a lot of constituencies who have a definite interest in the workings of the Civil Rights Commission. But I forget the words you use, slow, and I forget the other one.
Non-transparent.
And non-transparent compared to what the U.S. Supreme Court had to say about the Colorado Civil Rights Commission 18 months or 24 months ago in the Masterpiece Cake Shop decision. Those aren't actually the most damning things we've read lately about this particular operation, because the more damning things were about bias and obviously having a preordained agenda. This needs to be cleaned up, one hopes, as a regulatory agency. It's under the purview of Governor Polis and his appointee at the Department of Regulatory Agencies. You would hope that they would put politics aside and really make this a worthwhile operation that it is, but a worthwhile operation that runs well, as opposed to, going back to the last topic, just good intent.
Natasha, after an audit like this, what do you think is the next step?
Well, you start with a to-do list. What do we have to clean up? I mean, I think what's interesting is this came out of a robust discussion at the Capitol about the importance of this, of what civil rights means to this state and why we need to have these sort of reviews. And so this audit was part of looking at that, making sure that we were doing what we were supposed to do. And anyone should do that. Private business does that all the time. Let's have annual reviews. Let's talk about what's working and what's not. And the loud and clear message here is there's a lot that's not working. So I hope that the next step is to really sit down and say, what do we do to improve this? Because again, as a state, we've looked at it and said, these are civil rights that we want to preserve. So let's do that in a way that is fair and equitable and correct.
Patty, Governor Polis, the first openly gay governor of Colorado, he has a lot of priorities regardless of his sexual orientation, but I have to imagine he's going to want to know that the Colorado Civil Rights Division was top-notch under his leadership. Do you think he's going to get personally involved?
Yes, I do think he will, and it's a shame that they didn't realize they needed to start doing documentation earlier, a long time ago. Shouldn't have needed the Supreme Court. It's tricky because so many of these are personnel issues, so you have to be fairly confidential, but ultimately you should be able to come up with reports that are transparent. We've actually been the focus of a Colorado civil rights complaint by a man who was offended that we took advertisements for ladies' nights. I'm happy to say we were victorious. You can go, ladies, go out and drink, it's fine. But they did a great job in our case. They were sensitive to the issues. They realized how laughable some of this was, but you still have to take everything very seriously and follow protocol and document it.
Michael, I think when the Masterpiece Cake Shop case came out, people thought it was about one thing, but clearly it has uncovered quite a bit. What did you take away from what we found this week?
Yeah, I mean, clear transparency problems on top of the bias problems that came out during that case. I think this Civil Rights Division was already on thin ice. It was, negotiated if it would get funded and stay open and everything, and they got to the point where it would, but I think this really sets that back in a lot of ways. These were some pretty simple things. Every school board, every small school board in the state knows that you can't take, votes when you don't have it open to the public, open meetings rules, all different kinds of stuff. In the timeline, knowing that, look, these are important cases, then they should be dealt with within the statutory limits of what's going on. I think, you look at it, every audit that's coming out from the government right now seems to have some kind of issues with it. CDOT just had one that came out that was really bad for CDOT. I think what I will do is give credit to the audit committee and the auditors in general, because they don't hold back in these reports. They say what's wrong. I wish the audit committee could run most of government, and so I'm glad that that's going on, and I want to see more of this throughout the different aspects of government.
It's going to be neat to see the next campaigns. Like, elect me, I was an auditor. So there you go.